Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the ABL Series Worlds 2019 Group Stage, Day 7. I am Cracked Apple doing the play-by-play, and I am joined by Rebel Fox for the color casting. We are going to be watching the game between Rise Esports and Team Fish Taco of Group D.
Yeah, that we will. We have an undefeated Team Fish Taco team here, and Rise is currently sitting at 2-2. So if Rise can take even a single game off of Team Fish Tacos, it's a big advantage for them over Schism to see if they can get into playoffs. And that's what I want to see from them today. Winning a game here would be a massive boon to their attempted access to playoffs here.
It's also worth mentioning that Zinthus, the AD carry for Team Fish Tacos, is completely deathless at this point in the tournament. Ridiculous plays coming out of this guy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable the amount. You go to the website and you look for the highest KDA, and right now it's 0 because he has no deaths to divide anything by. So at the time he has infinite KDA by definition, but if you want to look at it, 39 kills, 38 assists is just unreal. It's actually top number of kills and top number of assists, I believe, for an ADC as well. So he is all over the map. He is all over the game in this ADC role.
So what are we going to see? 5 AD carry bans coming out of Team Rise?
So the question, like, to me then is, like, if he's really good at ADC, does it even matter if you ban ADCs? Because all he's going to do is pick up something and probably dominate on it. Anyway, you might as well ban out the rest of the map and hope you can get an advantage somewhere else.
Yeah, it's the do and be question. It's just like, can you even ban out this man? So the first bans coming out are going to be towards the supports, actually. We got the Morgana and the Yumi. So...
Toxic Cat getting the Toxic Cat banned against him.
I wonder if that's how he got his name.
I'm positive it is. There's no way it's not.
So, expecting pretty... Ooh, all right, so we got the Jarvan going to get banned against Rourke.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a really good utility jungler.
Yeah, nice for ganking early, nice for setting up team fights. Morgana's a lot of the same thing, a lot of that utility, some of the lane advantage, and then even team fighting a little later on, safety for Zinthus specifically. So I think it is Rise really trying to take away some of the team fight aspects from the side of Team Fish Tacos here.
So last game we saw a lot of really aggressive team fighting once the game started, break open, but a pretty calm laning phase besides, a few brief skirmishes. Is that around what we can expect from both of these teams, or do they play it a little different?
If I had to guess, I would say the Team Fish Tacos likes to play together. Most of their players, they have a lot of kills, a lot of assists, like individually combined with one another. So it is a little bit difficult to play apart. Zinthus does have more kills than a lot of his team, so you would expect this bot lane dominance to really come through from him. So expect to see at least a couple of attempted outplays on the bottom side of the map.
Once again, we see that Kai'Sa first pick, just a highly contested AD carry right now.
Again, even with the nerfs that came through onto both these champions, they're still absolute top tier when it comes to competitive play. And Kai'Sa, really good for a lot of reasons, because of that Q, because of the ability to scale super well, but no Nautilus lock-in alongside it. That's probably the best support to go along with it. And they're going to first pick it here on the side of Team Fish Tacos to respond. Now, that does open up Leona, but we saw what happened last game with Kai'Sa Leona, in that it did basically nothing and got bullied very hard in the lane phase.
It's all going to depend on the execution here. And, if the Caitlyn gets picked up again, at this level of play, Caitlyn can just run a clinic on the enemy team. And with the layered CC, with the Nautilus, the great coordination that we often see out of these spot lanes, but the Varus is going to get picked up instead. Depending on the build, a very deadly pick.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more comfort for Zinthus to have this Varus as opposed to the Caitlyn, but it does very similar things. The range advantage, as you said, you can vary the build around a little bit. You could go for more on-hit, you could go for crit, you could go for lethality, my personal favorite build on Varus.
Yes.
But I would expect the on-hit to be what comes out here because it gives you best dueling power in lane, and it does kind of match the Kai'Sa's ability, not quite to shred tanks, but certainly into the squishy champions with the burst of your abilities, your E's and your keys, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but he does have a fairly weak early game, and so the Elise is a great pick by Rise Esports here to try and bully him out early game just completely. If you can't bot lane and you shut down that Varus, that's going to really cut down on their damage. But the Rise gets picked up by Rise, and so that's going to be a very confusing cast ahead of us.
And it will. Rise going to be... At least it's on the side of Rise. So it'd be even worse if it were like, Rise wins the fight. Oh, wait, Rise, R-I, not R-Y.
Yeah,
that would be even worse, but... Potentially looking at,
All right.
Kindred actually going to be the lock in here for Rourke. Another one of these guys that has really high KDA, a lot of expected kills coming out of him as well. Wants this aggressive jungler into the Elise. So the Elise can do pretty good work into the Kindred very, very early, but because of Kindred's range advantage and mobility, it is difficult to hit a cocoon, and once that misses, Elise's dueling power goes far, far down.
And then once we head into the mid to late game, which of these junglers is going to be doing, more work in the team fights? Because Elise has the pick potential, certainly.
Yeah,
but Kindred,
It would depend mostly on how the rest of the team fight comes through. So we haven't seen the engage potential from Ryze. What we see is pick potential with like Ryze, Root, Elise, Trap, and then also the ultimate coming out from Kai'Sa. But all of those right now are countered with the Kindred. So what I want to see is how do they work around the Kindred ultimate to protect some of these pick tools with an engage. You can go something like Gragas. There are a couple of other champions with really nice potential setups for AoE CC that can be worked into the Kindred composition, something along those lines.
Right, and the Leona ban coming out of Fish Tacos is a great ban here. You want to cut down on their pick potential and their follow-up, but especially their tankiness, because right now they're fairly squishy. They can be burned through by the high crit, AD carries on the side of Fish Tacos. And so they're just really trying to pinch the support pool for Toxic Cat.
That they're freeing up the lane here for the Varus to make sure nothing aggressive can really get onto him. It also frees up, so if you have aggression in the Leona or the Thresh for protection into the Kai'Sa, there's a lot of ways, especially now Morgana's gone, Rakan is gone off the table as well. So a lot of these things that can counter the Nautilus and or protect the Varus are gone. And so Varus and Nautilus can walk a lot more forward in this lane to get aggressive again. Xynthis has a lot more kills than the majority of the other ADCs in the league. He wants to aggress into the bottom lane, and you're seeing why they're setting that up in the draft.
The Aatrox hover is right here, but the Kled is another really good aggressive top laner. Instead, we're going to get the Alistar, so it looks like it's a mid lane Nautilus, perhaps?
I would guess that, yeah. You could have flexed it up into the top lane if you really, really wanted to, but yeah, I would assume that this is an Alistar Varus coming out here.
Yeah, the CC chains coming out of those two is absolutely insane.
Yeah, not to mention the early game burst damage from Alistar with a full combo is actually really, really high. It's higher than most people expect, especially against somebody like a Kai'Sa. You can very nearly half health as long as you get the full E and the auto attack off. I like this response. This is really good into most of these engage melee supports to be able to fear them away for a long time. You can also punish very heavily with the silence that would come out. And then Fiddlesticks, he can get engaged on by the Nautilus or by this Alistar or by this Nautilus, but you have plenty of tools to work with to be able to poke them out in the laning phase and to be able to prevent the aggression that's going to come out here to protect your Kai'Sa pick. So it's not traditional. It's a little unorthodox, but it's certainly something that can work.
Absolutely, and I'm really happy to see this Ornn get picked up by Ryze, just because when you have these, pick potential champions and you've got a, good follow-up in the form of the Kai'Sa, if you don't have the tankiness to survive the upcoming team fight, you're just not going to be able to get the results that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's correct. As you said, yeah, the Ornn is the engage that they're looking as the response to into the Kindred. The Gangplank is a nice pick into what I assume to be the Ornn. Yeah, it is the Ornn, my apologies. Yeah, the Gangplank's not a terrible lane matchup into the Ornn, but it does kind of... like Nautilus will do damage on the AP variant of his build, but it's not a ton. Varus, I guess, does pick up a little bit of that slack, but it's a lot of AD damage coming out of Varus, Kindred, and Gangplank, their primary damage dealers, so there's a little more focus in that. But yeah, I think Nautilus and Varus with the on-hit build is what they're leaning towards, and that should be enough to AP to carry them throughout the fight. Throughout this game.
Absolutely, and the bot lane I think is where most of the focus is going to be, just because with the Gangplank being not impossible for the Elise to gank, especially with the Ornn. They've got a lot of chain CC that they can follow up with, but the Orange can kind of defang a lot of those ganks. So I feel like a lot of the focus is just going to be on this bot lane. I want to see that Ryze roaming down, and I want to see, these picks really coming out from the side of Ryze.
Yeah, Fiddlesticks is one of these soft counters into a lot of these melee supports. A really big reason why it's good into Alistar is not only the fear that can come out, but also this silence can prevent him from using the headbutt pulverize combination if he throws it at the right time. If he's late with it, if he throws it in response to it, it's not going to work. But if he throws it ahead of time, anticipating the headbutt pulverize coming out from Alistar, you can prevent that Q from coming through, knocking up the two members, and then afterwards you can fear him away, and there's nothing he can do about the return damage that will come through from the Kai'Sa and the Fiddlesticks Strain. So it's pretty nice to have that. It is going to be a little more of a skill matchup between these supports, though. Alistar has ways to find engagements that are a lot more flashy than you would expect just a pure WQ to see. So I'm kind of excited to see how these two interact.
Absolutely, and I think that Rise has a pretty good advantage here in terms of, Fish Tacos, it looks like they're setting up a really strong 4-1. However, having 4 members grouped up like that really advantages the Ornhorn. It advantages, the Rise being able to spread everything with Flux, as well as, if Fiddlesticks ults from around a wall, then you've got everybody just clumped up, silenced, knocked up, and then the Kai'Sa can just go to town with the Acacian Rain.
And that's correct. And that's the importance of the Kindred ultimate as well, is you can set up at least protection to some extent. If you use it too late, then as you said, the engagement comes off and the fight's already lost before you throw the Kindred ultimate down. If you use it too early, all they have to do is stall out and then the fight's lost anyway. So Rourke on this Kindred is going to have some importance in these team fights, using this ultimate not only in the right position, but also at the right time. Now, again, if it does go down in the right position and it does stall out a lot of the damage that can come through, you have a Nautilus and an Alistar for engage, coupled with Gangplank barrels, a kit, and 2 ADCs to throw extra damage in. It's a lot that can be thrown back into Rise's face if they don't absolutely execute perfectly.
A really great point there. Something else I like is Varus picking up the cleanse, showing, despite the fact that he has gotten so many kills in this tournament already, showing great respect to his opponents. I mean, like, look, with that Fiddlesticks, with that Elise, if he gets hit by the cocoon, he's probably going to die. And they've got a great amount of peel thanks to the Alistar and the Nautilus, but early game especially, that might not be enough. So it's great to see him, really understanding what the matchup is, not just against his lane opponent, but the entirety of the enemy team.
Yeah, seeing ahead of the time, kind of looking into that crystal balls in this knows that the cleanse is probably going to be more beneficial than either the teleport or that heal would be. Kai'Sa takes the heal for a little bit better of a laning summoner as well, so we don't see these TPs coming out of the ADC we do sometimes. But again, it should be some exciting gameplay between the two teams in the 5v5.
And with that, we are going to go into a short break as the spectator delay counts down. We're going to get set up in game, and then we're going to be right back. Do not touch that browser. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the ABL Series Worlds 2019 Group Stage, Day 7. I am Cracked Apple doing the play-by-play casting, and I am joined by Rebel Fox for the color casting. We are getting into the game of Rise Esports on the blue side versus Team Fish Taco on the red side for Group D. Team Fish Taco is coming in as completely undefeated with an 80 carry who has yet to die. So this is going to be a very interesting game. I just want to say before we get going that we do survive off of your very generous donations. So if you're feeling particularly amazing, as usual, if you could drop a donation in, it really supports us. It goes towards the producers, the streamers, and the casters. But going forward, we are going to just leave that there and not mention it again. So looking at this lineup, we've got a lot of really great picks on both sides.
That we do. A lot of interesting picks, too. Like I said, you don't really see Kindred all that often, and certainly Fiddlesticks bot lane is very niche in terms of what its uses are. This is a great opportunity for it, though, having this Nautilus and this Alistar for this forward engage and the denial of that by both the Silence of the Crow and the fear that can come out from this champion.
It's all going to depend on the timing, though, with the Alistar, because he's able to buffer his, WQ combo.
WQ.
So, yeah. So what do you think is the advantage for the Nautilus versus Rise matchup?
Like I said, Rise already doesn't have a ridiculous amount of kill pressure because his Q is gated by his leveling. So what this really has to be is Nautilus taking advantage of lane pushing. His E is pretty spammable in the laning phase, should give him some pressure. The one fear is that Elise can actually aggress into this lane very well with Rise, especially to set up a tower dive. So that's why you see probably not Fed in the mid lane playing with a lot of respect right now to make sure he doesn't take a ton of chip damage from Rise. But once this phase of the lane gets over, once he has this W and this Q up, the amount of burst damage that can come out from this Nautilus onto the Rise in trade, and then also the push pressure he can get with this E spam is just a lot to deal with. So you control the middle of the map, especially the scuttle crabs, a lot better with a Nautilus than you would a Rise. It also scales pretty well into like a frontline engager that has a lot of front loaded damage, similar to like AP Malphite. The difference is all of your damage isn't loaded exclusively into the ultimate. It's a little bit more consistent.
Now, something that, sorry, gonna restart. So, the blue team has spotted out Kindred on her blue buff. They put down some deep wards into the river after pushing up their lane. That's really great. We love to see that kind of advanced play here. That's going to be probably not Fed doing a lot of damage onto Lights Out. They're both at about half health.
Yeah,
we see the Kindred coming up behind the mid lane, possibly looking for a gank here. Probably just waiting for the abilities to come back online.
Gank as well, though. This is the problem.
Elise is coming in and has the damage coming out. That's going to be the stun and the combo. The first blood going over to the Elise for the second game in a row on completely different teams. That is almost another kill going over thanks to the Kindred. They flash out just in time.
Yeah, again, the idea behind having this Elise and this Rise combo in the mid lane against the Nautilus is that you can aggress into it, and you saw it right there. While it was really the side of Team Fish Tacos that was trying to set up the gank, the vision on the bottom side of the map, it let them read where the Kindred was going to go into this mid lane to try to abuse the Rise. So the counter gank coming out from Elise to be able to get a kill onto probably not Fed, and even almost on Rourke, as you said. Really, really nice map control coming out from this bottom lane. Nice E.
Yeah, it's going to be... a lot of damage going down onto the Kaisa, and the Ignite goes down onto the Alistar. So much damage going straight onto this Fiddlestick, but he doesn't die! He stays alive with a sliver of health.
So close. One auto attack left, but wasn't really able to aggress. I appreciate that he didn't go overboard for it in that case. Really, really nice. Take a look, yeah.
So we've got a replay going on for this team fight that we just saw.
Yeah, bottom side here. Yeah, you will get to see the engagement here from the Alistar. It's a really nice layering of the WQ. The E comes out as well. They try to aggress onto the Kai'Sa, but that fear denies the auto attack stun. And then here's the aggression onto the Fiddlesticks. They almost get the burst damage, just not quite able to. And the flash away at the end, last tick of Ignite's not going to do it either. So close. In the end, I think it was more Summoner's Burn, though, from the side of Rise. They still have the cleanse and the flash here for the Bear, so that's a nice place to be.
Absolutely. So, yeah, all right. So I think we're good. So, really good to see that despite losing out on First Blood, the Nautilus is still keeping up in farm, and he picked up that cheeky Dark Seal. So it looks like we're going to be seeing a primarily AP build.
Yeah, at minimum, it's enough to keep him sustained with that Corrupting Potion in lane, so he doesn't have to worry about through minion harass. Again, like I said, once he hits this like level 3, having all of his spells and even having some AP in his back pocket now, it's pretty nice for the Nautilus. If he really wants to go early game, he could build into a Doran's Ring before he does anything else, but he probably will build into either Protobelt or Rod of Ages, depending on how scaly he wants to be in the laning phase. But you'll see the in pressure he can have. The E-Spam coming out should be able to help him control the wave. Although he's playing a little more passively, he has no idea where this Elise is going to be, and they actually ping him out, so they're telling him to back off. It's a nice call from the map from Team Fish Tacos.
Yeah, the Elise is really scary, especially in the early game when everybody's got really low resistances.
Wow.
But now,
yeah, Elise actually went right for Sork Shoes, too, as you were saying. Yeah, the high base damage coupled with some low resistances on everyone means that she opts right for Sork Shoes. Not even an advanced jungle item or any AP, just right to those Sork Shoes.
that is the kind of really aggressive play that I love to see. The hook misses on the rise, but that's going to be a flash cocoon straight onto the Nautilus, but that's going to be the... sorry, that's going to be the gameplay kill trying to stop that from happening. So nobody ends up going down.
Yeah, had Rourke been a little bit closer, I think they could have maybe aggressed onto J Galaxy because he had flashed that wall to make sure the cocoon went down, but the Aftershock meant they couldn't aggress into the Nautilus without getting severely punished by the Gangplank ultimate and then eventually Rourke as well. So nice pullback from both of them. I think a little bit less aggression than necessary from Team Fish Tacos, but they it's better to play safe, better to not lose anybody than anything else. And they're still playing the map pretty well. The Gangplank has a pretty good lead on the Ornn, about 300 gold at this point, and the bottom lane's still performing pretty well.
Absolutely, and I think it's worth Hex Flash does not get him over the wall, but that is going to be J Galaxy getting headbutted straight into Rourke. Ornn comes down and knocks up the Kindred. Lights out trying to find more damage. We are in a 5v5 in the river at 7.5 minutes in.
Very, very fast 5v5 coming in from both teams. Quick teleports as well for both these top laners. Gotta love that they're paying attention to the map and not just kind of waiting around in the top lane trying to farm it out. Gangplank's going to be able to get up top lane first because he walked directly back top lane instead of backing first like the Ornn did. This does buy a little bit of space for the bot lane. I like that they freed this up by clearing a little bit of that interior vision. So now the interior vision belongs to Team Fish Tacos, but all of the vision around the dragon is actually in favor of Rise at the moment.
And that seems to be looking pretty good for them because I think both of these teams would benefit greatly from a Cloud Drake. And so a stat I wanted to bring up, though, actually, is that J Galaxy on Rise Esports actually has the most kills on his... has the most kills on his team throughout the group stage. So they really do seem to rely on his early aggression. And I think the Elise is a great pick for him on this. You know, we were already seeing a lot of really good things coming out from it. He's a little bit behind in farm, but that doesn't seem to be hurting him too bad. And Elise has a really fast clear.
Yeah. There's a couple of lanes to aggress on. He's pretty much shied away from the Gangplank lane, which I appreciate quite a bit. It's very hard to get a gank onto the Gangplank lane as at least in the first place, let alone without damage coming out from the Ornn. You can try to layer CC with that Ornn horn as well, but it's just it's difficult to set up and probably not beneficial for anybody in that case. Now you're actually looking at top lane for Rourke to try to gank into Dragonblade here. This is a good setup.
Already dishing out the damage. The flash comes out from Dragonblade, but it might not be enough. He gets slowed a little bit by the Kindred. J Galaxy might be looking for a pick here.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, the Ornn and the Elise are both sticking around that area. They're looking to aggress onto this Kindred when he goes in for his Krugs, most likely. They are going to find him here. My question is, are they going to be able to play it off?
Ooh, a 2v1 by the Krugs. The Cocoon misses, and the smite comes down, and Rourke does not get the big Krug.
Nautilus is coming in for a...
Oh, it looks like we might be seeing a 3v3 in the top jungle. That's going to be spotted out for J Galaxy. Managed to get out with his life.
Yeah, should be a break here. Now, my question is, yeah, Elise is actually opting to walk towards this Raptor camp. I'm curious whether he wants to aggress on a Nautilus or counter jungle. He's going to go for the Nautilus here.
Got to be really careful around the turret with the Nautilus, but he misses the hook. That's going to be the Cocoon again onto the Nautilus, just bursting him out so much. And he comes down, and that's going to be Kindred. The Nautilus. Oh, Kindred gets the kill onto Galaxy. The return kill does not come out for the Nautilus. Rourke so close, he can taste it, but he just can't get it.
Yeah, it looked like there was a momentary lapse of judgment on his part. I think he was going to back off and not go after the Rise, but he realized he had the damage to do it just a little too late. And we can take a look at this replay. It's a nice setup here from the Nautilus. He knows the engagement's coming in from Elise, and he actually baits it out a little bit, throws the shield up, and he's going to be able to, Qs into the minion, throws the shield up, doesn't take enough damage here, and then he's going to wait for the Elise to come down. The ultimate comes through. Rourke had flashed over that back wall, and there's the aggression. Immediate kill. Gangplank ultimate almost done. There's that, indecision right there from Rourke. He walks a little too far back, and then the flash away from Rise is going to help him keep him alive here. Still, nice play setup from the side of Team Fish Tacos.
Yeah, and we saw the same kind of thing earlier where Toxic Cat almost gave a kill over to Zinthus because Zinthus was one auto attack away from killing that Fiddlesticks before the Fiddlesticks flashed out. And I think that their Fish Tacos might be playing a little bit under aggressive. They could be pressing this a lot more than they are.
Yeah, they're playing very reserved in this League of Legends. In fact, both teams are actually playing pretty reserved. For 11 minutes, you wouldn't expect that this ELO, and in fact at most ELOs below just like Challenger, Grandmaster, to be at 2 kills and no turrets, not a little bit of CS lead, a couple of lanes, but nothing massive at this point. Most of the time by this point, there's like 1,000 gold or like multiple 1,000 golds, multiple kills on both teams. It's 1-1 right now with just 1,000 gold lead the way of Team Fish Tacos.
Yeah, it's like, come on, guys, we want to see some blood. There's definitely been a lot of, sucking air through your teeth kind of moments. A lot of really close calls for both teams, but I think they've done great to outplay each other.
That they have. And they've also given each other a lot of respect. Again, as you said, maybe a little too much respect at times, especially from the side of Team Fish Tacos, but they're not willing to make these massively over-aggressive plays and throw the game. And a lot of that, again, Zinthus, no deaths right now, that's kind of the epitome of his play, is not really taking the excessively aggressive play, really going for the safe stuff because that's what wins him the games. And you see him, he's pretty much even in farm at this point, has basically the same gold, but
as Shelly gets summoned in the bot lane, it looks like Rise Esports might be looking to respond to this. They've got the Rise and the Elise both coming down. It's going to be a 3v4 perhaps, but the Nautilus has his teleport. It's going to be 3 tower plates going over to the side of Fish Tacos.
Yeah,
I don't know why I trailed off like that. But you know what? That's just how it is sometimes.
That's fair. Yeah,
Pigs coming down onto the dragon.
A good amount of gold onto both their ADCs. They definitely needed that. I think Alistar stayed out of range for it. Now they're looking for Dragon. They have the pressure they need with the Rift Herald having pushed up the laning phase, 2 tower plates off as well. So now they're getting control of this jungle on the side.
Comes in, and that's going to be the hook straight onto Lights Out, who gets his lights knocked out by Rourke.
That does 1 kill already, and they should be able to secure Dragon now pretty freely without Lights Out here at all to respawn. Especially with double ADC composition here. You also have to fear the Nautilus and the Alistar both capable of going in. So I would be terrified to contest this. Fiddlesticks looks like he's actually looking for it right now, though.
He has the ult. He can come around the wall. The Elise is really good at getting these steals. Not enough, though. And another hook. This Nautilus is running a clinic. Toxic Cat knocked up and ignited and killed. And that's going to be Rise Sanctus. He's getting really close here. He might be able to escape. He is. Dragon Blade. Well, the teleport is coming out from Lights Out. They look like they might be trying to follow up here, but doesn't seem as though Fish Tacos are going to be playing their game here.
Yeah, had Fish Tacos over-aggressed there, they probably would have, at least lost or traded a couple of kills over to Lights Out. But instead, they just opt to take the kills that they were gifted. 2 kills and a free dragon, as well as some more pressure onto this bottom lane. Really, really nice, especially because Zinthus picks up a kill and an assist, gets him a little advantage over this Kai'Sa. That's just a solid play from Team Fish Tacos. Doesn't give them a ton of gold, doesn't look the sexiest, but really just taking what's given to them, and I really appreciate that kind of play.
Yeah, so we've got the replay going on here, and something that I really like about the team comp for Fish Tacos is that, Rise has to commit so much. They commit both of their teleports down here into the bot lane, and ultimately Will Win just comes out on top of that because he can just ult on the other side of the map and still press the enemy turrets.
Yeah, the unfortunate side effect of playing against the Gangplank is the global pressure he can exert with that and just turn a fight completely around.
And he just got his Trinity Force, so that is an even scarier Gangplank at 15 minutes in.
That is, he has all of the lane freedom he would possibly want into the Ornn, so he has wave clear, he has free farming. I mean, he's basically in a perfect situation right now. As a Gangplank, he's just throwing these ultimates out whenever he sees necessary or somebody calls for it, and then he's just farming up his lane as best he can.
Well, it looks like Rourke and Probably Not Fed are looking for another kill onto Lights Out, but they're not going to find it just yet.
Yeah, nice flash away from Lights Out.
Coming out. Alistair wants it. They're going to be invading onto this Elise, but they're spotted out, so nothing's going to come of that just yet.
Yeah, Alistair's a little precarious of a position. Yeah, he's going to be able to walk out pretty freely. I like this aggression. They're starting to ramp things up. They have a 4,000 gold lead, especially when the Kindred is around. That's where a lot of this gold is right now. So when he is there, don't be afraid to be a little bit more aggressive. Invade, kind of forward and try to push this Vision lineup. That's exactly what they did here.
And now that they've got 3 kills onto this Kindred, the damage in these team fights is going to be absolutely insane.
That it will. They're actually postured on bot lane as well for another fight here.
Oh, well, Probably Not Fed goes straight in thanks to the Hextech Proto Belt. Toxic Cat burning down thanks to Rourke's damage on the Kindred with a long shot. Gets the kill over to Zinthus.
Really, really nice. And now...
Oh, man, Sanctus uses the ult in order to get himself out of that turret dive. A really great move there. Alistair using the Unbreakable in order to get himself away from the turret shots.
A little bit of damage reduction there. They're still pressing onto this bottom tower, and that's another tower take, or the first tower of the game taken away. No response here from the side of Rise other than this Rise pushing in the mid lane because Nautilus was caught bot lane. But again, that's the idea. The Nautilus has the Proto Belt very early. He's able to push the wave very quickly, and he's able to support this bottom lane where Zinthus and Rourke are, so they can make this aggressive play, get a free kill, get bot tower, and continue to snowball this lead.
And in contrast, the Rise Esports mid laner, he just got his Archangel staff. So he's starting to ramp up a little bit, and he's definitely got a lot of scaling potential. It's going to be really interesting to see if this game ends up going long, which team is going to come out on top, because they both have a lot of tank potential, and they both have a lot of pick potential as well, thanks to the Nautilus hook, and the, Alistair can get some really great picks, especially in the late game around Baron. It's just going to depend on execution, and I'm really excited to see where this goes.
That it will. I love the way that Team Fish Tacos have also been setting up their map right now. They're putting Rourke on the bottom side, and they're making that the strong side of the map, despite the fact that Gangplank has basically a free lane against this. So,
Galaxy gets picked out again, ignited. There's no place for him to go. He just ends up coming down. Rooted uses the stopwatch in order to try and keep himself alive, but it's not enough. Rourke is on a rampage as he takes out his opponent.
Yeah, that he does. Very, very simple kill there. The Elise not able to get the vision down ahead of time, and while he does stall out quite a ways and burn a couple of ultimates, it's just not enough to protect their jungler. And now they have free reign of mid tower. Should go down pretty quickly here as well. Dragon's going to be up in another 30-ish seconds, something like now 20 seconds. Yeah, it's going to be very, very quick here.
And that's just the power of this Team Fish Tacos comp. They've got so much pick potential and so much great follow-up, whereas, this Elise, if she doesn't get the pick initially, there's not much that she can do.
Yeah, and what's nice, again, also, is, Team Fish Tacos didn't have a massive advantage 5 minutes ago.
Oh, poor Alistair.
Oh, no, banished to the Tri-Brush. Yeah, but again, 5 minutes ago, they didn't really have a massive advantage, only about 1,000, maybe 1,500 gold, but ever since they won that fight on the bottom side of the map, really got themselves secured, that's when they started to take off. That's when they started to ramp up the speed of the game. They took bottom tower, took mid tower, and a dragon right here. Now they could maybe even look for top tower, look for that Rift Herald if possible. That's actually gone now, my apologies, but Baron is up in about a minute, and they could look for that. They have the on-hit Varus, they have the Blade of the Rune King Kindred, so they do take it rather fast.
It's also good to see that Team Rise has a lot of vision in the top side, so the vision is kind of mirrored in that way. They're not just, rolling over like this, but that is going to be a lot of chain CC going straight onto the Alistair. He uses the ult in order to reduce the damage. The Fiddlesticks comes down, and he gets rooted, but that's going to be so much damage going straight onto the Alistair. He manages to survive. Lights Out getting rooted by the Nautilus. The Gangplank ult doesn't find much, but Rourke is unstoppable. Toxic Cat uses his W and doesn't manage to get himself away. Galaxy dies for a 4th time in this game. A killing spree for Zinthus. That is going to be 3 for 1 in favor of Team Fish Tacos.
Yeah, some heroics not only from It's in the Afternoon, but also from Probably Not Fed. I want to try to take a look at this replay if at all possible. to see if we can get a little bit better capture. This is a big one, so watch for the Alistar in this Tri-Brush. He gets aggressed on, but this ultimate keeps him alive for just so long, and the rest of this team, here they come. They have the TP coming in, they have the rest of the team collapsing from the jungle, and they overextend just too far. Then the counter engagement comes in from It's Not Fed in this bottom lane. They're kind of trapped between a rock and a hard place here. Kindred just literally walks through this team with Qs. Xanthus picks up another kill right there, but yeah, just too easy for them to re-engage after Alistar bought them so much time.
And that's really the advantage that this team has, because with 2 on-hit AD carries, it means that while Alistar remains completely unkillable, they can just deal all of the damage onto every member of Team Rise.
That it does, and not only do you have the consistent damage from the Kindred and from this Varus, but you also have a lot of burst damage coming out of the Nautilus when he has the Proto Belt and has the ultimate and his cooldowns up, and even from the barrels of Gangplank, he now has a lethality item completed in that U-boost with the Trinity Force, so he's going to be hitting very hard all in a blink of an eye. So if you're not careful, you're going to take a Varus Q or a barrel, or you're going to take a Nautilus hook, and then your health bar is going to go from 0 or from 100 to very quickly 0. Not even talking about the damage that can come out from the consistency of the Kindred with those Qs, those auto attacks, or from the on-hit from Xanthus.
Absolutely, and it's just going to be on Rise Esports to do better target selection. Dumping all of their damage, all of their ults, and all of their pick potential onto the Alistar is just not where you need to be putting all of your resources.
I guess I feel like they just need to get something back.
Well,
but
here comes the Ornhorn going straight onto Rourke and onto the Nautilus, but the Kindred ult comes down, going to keep both of them alive. The Alistar goes straight to the backline, though, and Toxic Cat gets killed by a... And that's going to be a godlike Rourke as he takes out the Elise and the Ornn. 3 for nothing. These picks are monstrous.
Yeah, say what you will about the remainder of what's
straight towards the Baron.
Yeah, should be relatively free for them to take without Elise or Ornn up, so that the only 2 members left are the squishy damage dealers. Again, I want to give a ton of commendation here to, It's in the Afternoon, a massive flank from the top side, or from the bottom side of that, on that entrance to the jungle. It allowed him to push the damage dealers back, and then get a knock up onto this Fiddlesticks to make sure he can't escape. So really clean from him to make sure that team fight goes exactly how they want it to. Gangplank here to support his mid laner as well.
Yeah, Rise commits the ult, but it's just not enough to find the pick onto the Nautilus. Just ducks and weaves himself out of the enemy jungle, and that's going to be 3 kills and the Baron going over to Team Fish Tacos.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can take a look at this. Yeah, again, watch really quickly. They're going to get found out.
Yeah,
here.
On the top side. Watch the Alistar.
Yeah, watch the Alistar on the top side when that comes through. But yeah, this Nautilus and this Kindred get kind of caught out right here by the Ornn ultimate, so they're stuck in the back of the pit. The Kindred ultimate comes out to stall this fight, so they know there's nothing that can come through. There's Alistar. He knocks away the Elise, forces out the Kai'Sa, and then Fiddlesticks is stuck in a bad place, and then they trap the rest of this team that comes in. Elise tries to support with something, and she goes down as well. But really nice zoning from Alistar to secure that really clean 5v2 that secures them the Baron in the end.
And the Nautilus ult going straight down onto the Kai'Sa near the end was great, because it completely cuts out all of the damage from Rise Esports.
Yeah, they can't really, like, Sanctus hasn't died yet in this game. They haven't really put a ton of effort into killing this Kai'Sa, because they don't need to. All of this engage, all of this low-range damage coming out from Rise, from Elise, from Ornn, from Fiddlesticks is easily punishable by this double marksman composition, and the burst coming out from, of course, the Gangplank, the Nautilus when they do come in. And the Alistar zoning, the Nautilus zoning that they're working with right now makes it very hard for these damage dealers to approach safely, and they're taking massive advantage of that. When you look at the damage charts at the end of the game, I'm sure Sanctus is going to be very low on them, but that's not because he doesn't have damage, it's because he can't use his damage.
Absolutely, and it's really sad to be at this point, despite all of these massive team fights still being 0-0-0. Sanctus has to flash over the wall in order to avoid getting killed by Rourke, but that's going to be third dragon going over to Team Fish Tacos. And seeing the score spread for Team Fish Tacos, you've got a 0-0-8 Gangplank, a 0-0-8 Alistar, an 8-0 Kindred. That is just great team play coming out of them. They're just like, well, we're just going to group up and we're going to smash their heads in, and that is what you love to see.
Yeah, they started off very, very slowly to make sure that they started to secure a lead. And again, this is not just like a snowball. It is. I'm going to go back on that. It's a very definition of a snowball. They started very, very slow. They got it going very, not very quickly. But once it started to gain some traction, it really started going a lot faster. Again, it started with the 1 kill. Then it came into a couple of fights that were going their way. Then they secured bot tower, dragon, mid tower. And since then, the tempo has not gone down. They've kept increasing the tempo to make sure there's no chance of Rise coming back in this game.
Yeah, a 14,000 gold lead and 6 turrets to 0 means that this is a very, very scary comp. And, at a point like this, you have to ask, is there even a way for Rise Esports to come back into this game?
You said you haven't died yet with the Kai'Sa. She's not intensely behind in terms of damage compared at least to the Varus. To the Kindred, she's down quite a bit. But you do have some front-to-back teamfight potential if you're able to make sure she can do the damage. The problem is, who do you put on the backside of this fight to make sure they survive? Because Ornn's going to get shredded through. He has no real... he has a lot of armor and a lot of health, but he still will get destroyed by this on-hit of Varus and Kindred. And then you've got, like, Elise, who can repel, and she doesn't even have a stopwatch anymore to do that. Fiddlesticks doesn't have the stopwatch either to secure anything. So you're front line, the people that are diving into that, have to stall for so long to make sure this Kai'Sa can work front to back into the Alistar, into this Nautilus. Then from there, you potentially have the chance of winning the fight if you've burnt the cooldowns of these carries, of Xynthis, of Rourke. But even that's such a risky proposition. I just don't know that they have the execution right now to do it. They gotta wait at least probably for another item on Kai'Sa before that becomes a reality.
Yeah, and I have to say I'm not super excited with how this Fiddlesticks has turned out, because there is a lot of pick potential in the champion, but I just feel like it's maybe not being utilized properly. It's like he's waiting in the bush with all the rest of his teammates, but then he just sort of ults in plain sight, and that's not the best way to use Fiddlesticks.
That's correct. It's better to use some proactively, but it is, in fairness, difficult to set up proactive play with this Fiddlesticks being down so far. It worked really well as a lane counter. Also, oh my goodness, I just took half his health bar from that barrel. Yeah, it worked pretty well as a lane counter. Xynthis and It's in the Afternoon didn't have a massive advantage coming out of the laning phase until the fight started happening. At that point, the Fiddlesticks just started losing to everything. He didn't have the CC necessary to bounce a couple of people from the fight, and the rest of his team just couldn't follow up on anything he brought to it. So unfortunately, it just kind of fell off once you got to that point. And then Alistar is just a better champion to have when you are ahead as opposed to behind with the Fiddlesticks.
And that just is... the story of this mid to late game. We're going to just continue to see the, push potential, and the Gangplank doesn't even need to show up to these team fights. The 4v5 is so strong from Team Fish Tacos because of the double AD carry and this really strong front line. It's difficult to say. I think it's really just going to be a question of, how long until they win. Knock on wood, caster curse, but that's just a terrifying team to be up against.
Yeah, and right now we're approaching the point in the game where this vision is pushed up so far. Their lanes are pushed up in basically every single one of them, and so if the lanes are pushed back, the vision's not there, you can't contest the second Baron. And on second Baron, you've got now a 2-item Varus with some defense with the Maw of Malmortius, so you're not worried about him getting bursted out by Elise or by Rise. You've got a Guardian Angel. This is a 4-item Kindred. This is ridiculous strength for 28 minutes into the game. Not to mention the lethality, and then also the Guardian Angel on this Gangplank that can save him in the fights too. There's just so much damage behind this composition. I don't think they can survive another Baron buff. Oh, that's just icing on the cake.
Yeah, Rourke also has 8 stacks of the marks. And so his range and his attack speed and his damage is just going to be insane. And so I just, with this Baron being burnt down, there's not even going to be a response from Rise Esports. They're nowhere near this because they're completely blind. Their map is completely dark.
Yeah, they can't contest it either. Even if they were in position to know when they were going to be there and they were in position to contest it, they just can't. They're not strong enough right now. The best case scenario they have is probably coming up soon. Again, you have this Phantom Dancer that could come onto the Kai'Sa. Unlocking her attack speed is going to be a great way to let her play this front-to-back style. You've got Zhonya's on Elise. You've got a stopwatch
Jay Galaxy gets completely chunked out by Rourke. He almost gets the kill. He's so close. One auto attack away. He's going to flash and not quite find it because of the That's going to be a legendary Rourke on this Kindred. Another kill goes down as Dragon Blade falls. Fiddlesticks tries to ult in, but it's not enough. Will Win gets a kill onto that, and that's going to be the ult straight onto Sanctus, who gets the kill first. That's going to be the first death of Xanthus in this tournament. Lights Out manages to survive just barely. The inhibitor goes down. Only the Nexus turrets stand in the way of Team Fish Tacos and victory, going 5-0 in this group. That's going to be the ace, and the win going straight over to Team Fish Tacos.
Yeah, I guess you could make a claim about the one caveat that they do finally give Xanthus his first death in the series, but it just wasn't worth it. First death in the tournament, basically everything right here. Nice play from Team Fish Tacos, though. A very secure, very dominant 30-minute victory from them.
Yeah, absolutely by the book. That's exactly how you want to be playing it out. You know, the only criticism we had is, you know, you might have played it a bit too safe in the early game. You guys could have won harder and sooner, but you can't argue with those kinds of results that they just got.
No, you can't. Also, like I said, I do want to point this out too, is they were not only passive in the early game, but they're also a little bit reserved even in the builds. That's why you saw Xanthus go down in that late game. You're looking at the Muramana, and then you have Rudans and Rageblade for this Kaiser. That's a lot of on-hit damage that she can produce. And Xanthus, he had Blade of the Rune King, Wit's End, and then more defenses building towards a Maw of Malmortius. I understand he wants to be safe, doesn't want to die, wants to put out the damage, but you're never going to win that 1v1 against Sanctus. I'm assuming he didn't think it was ever going to happen, but he was able to find it towards the end of the game, and that's what the win condition was for Rise, having Sanctus win front to back and then beat the carries because he has that damage. But unfortunately, the rest of the team had already won the fight. It meant very little to bring down Xanthus other than maybe a moral victory here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you can't take that away from them, that they got that death for him. But it is just you know, in contrast with last game with, you know, Recon 5's Elise, you know, contrasting that with the Elise here, it's you know, you don't want to be too harsh, obviously. You know, everybody's playing their hearts out. But I just think that it's worthwhile to draw a contrast to that, just not being, you know, despite the aggression that he had, they just weren't able to convert it to anything because I think the draft really failed them here.
Yeah, that's the case. And they kept trying to contest around J Galaxy, despite he did get that first kill, which was a really nice gank, really nice setup, and nice read on the map. But the problem was once he started to play these skirmishes, how do you really beat the skirmishing of this team with the Kindred, the Nautilus, the Alistar, and the Varus? There's just too much early game stats, this like stat ball that they have over you just flat to start the game. It's difficult to actually play against. And because of that, they miscalculated damage a couple times, lost a couple fights, and Team Fish Tacos, they take that minimal error and they just took it home from there. It was just too clean from them to actually lose the game.
Absolutely. And I think with that, we are going to end this here. So we're going to still be live. You know, make sure to tune in. I myself am going to be casting out for today. Rebel Fox is going to be sticking around, though. We've got the First Blood Marauders versus Lakeside Gaming up next for Group A. And then later, our last game of the night is going to be Recon 5 Violet versus Grim Legion Esports. Make sure to stick around and don't touch that browser. You are watching the ABL Series Worlds 2019 Group Stage.